Okay, welcome to the Serve Brew, everybody. I'm Tori Townley. I am sipping on my second cup of coffee as we have our Serve Brew. I got a little Disney World action, little Magic Kingdom, transporting me to a warmer place in the middle of these winter storms. I hope everybody's safe, and that your power comes on very quickly if you're dealing with that. Crazy week, but I am so excited because today we have like a really fire special guest. I could like list out this whole bio right now of just the amazing person that is with us. um he is known as the General. He is an author of several books. He's a prophet. He's founded his own foundation. He's helped plant churches and done international, local missions, all of the things. Like, seriously incredible. And he's personally known in our circle as the Gift Card King. So, welcome, Apostle Mayberry, Raleigh Mayberry. How are you, sir?
I am wonderful. I am just super excited to talk to you today.
Oh man, I am stoked to get to just share your voice with our community. Like, you just have inspired me so much. And we've only talked like two or three times, but I was like, this guy has a voice like no other. And you just have the most, I don't know, just profound perspectives on humanity. And it's like just the experience that you have and the way that you just talk about life and how to love people. It just really inspired me. And so I'm excited to invite you to just speak into us and mentor us a little bit today. But before we get into some of the deep stuff, we always start with, what is your coffee of choice? Are you a coffee drinker? You go to Starbucks, what are you going to order?
So my drink at Starbucks has always been the caramel frappuccino with extra caramel.
Ooh.
Or I will do, if I am like tired or need an extra hit, I will do a iced caramel macchiato with an extra shot.
All right.
So that is like my go-to when I need a good pick me up.
I like it. That's pretty fantastic. You go all out. And it's cold. I
I
never.
can't do I don't hot coffee doesn't do it for me. It has to
Oh,
be iced.
wow.
Yeah.
Never. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. Okay. And then just tell us some other fun facts about you, like your family and just some of the quirky things, Not that
Sure.
you're quirky, but just your
Sure.
background.
Well, I am a husband and father of four. I have four amazing children, my wife and I. I married my high school sweetheart. And it's so funny because my wife was like, she always makes fun of me because I was always a church kid. And my approach to her was like, I'm looking for something serious, somebody who I can build a future. And we're like in high school, somebody who I can build a future with. And she's like this street, what is this guy talking about? But we instantly connected, and the rest was history. So we've been married for 15 years. Um, and so it's been quite an amazing journey. She puts up with all of my quirks and all of the crazy things about me. Like, I can eat peanut butter out of a jar. I love the Golden Girls. Like, all of the crazy things she has to endure. Anytime I tell somebody I love the Golden Girls, they're like, "What?"
What?
It's like I know every episode. It's like a favorite of mine.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I asked the question of what are your quirks, because that is like a little jewel that we would have never known about. That is hilarious. Also, peanut butter is like, if I was on a deserted island and had one thing, it would be peanut butter.
Oh,
Because
has to
what
be.
else do you need? Like,
You need nothing else.
sweet and savory and his protein filled. Like, I am set. I literally go through giant jars every week and
Oh,
it's bad.
yes,
Man,
absolutely.
we are like, I knew we were connected. I knew it. That's so cool. I love your love story and the fact that you're a dad with four kids. Like, that is, I know you invest and you bring them along in this outreach, serve ministry life, this kingdom
Oh,
life.
yeah.
That's really cool to me. I
Yeah.
connect with that personally. That's just so valuable. And we can get into that maybe a little down the road.
Sure.
But if you would, tell us a little bit more, like give us a quick version snapshot of your own testimony, just so we
Sure.
know like what got you to where you are.
Sure. So I am born and raised on the south side of Chicago. So I've been in Chicago all my life. My mom was a single parent. My father was addicted to drugs and alcohol. So he was in and out of my life. We reconnected at different points in life. And, kind of a crazy story about that is the way that I reconnected with my father again was I was driving down the street, myself and my oldest son at the time was probably maybe 4 or 5. And we were driving down the street and I saw a man that looked like my dad at the bus stop. And so I turned around and I pulled up and I said, Dad? And he said, Son, is that you? Like it was a real crazy, like random moment, but he was waiting at the bus stop with another group of people. It was scorching hot outside. But they were waiting because the shelters here, you have to leave at a certain time in the morning and then you have to wait. And you want to stay close because there's only a certain amount of space. So they were literally just sitting at the bus stop for 9 hours until the shelter reopened, nothing to eat, nothing to drink. And so that kind of opened my heart up to the world of serving. Like I immediately ran home, told my wife, I was like, I'm going to get some cases of water. We're going to make some sandwiches. And so I like took the stuff back up there and they were asking him like, who is this? And he, with pride, he's like, this is my son. So that was kind of that intro to opening my heart up to this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life because that hit very close to home. So that's a lot of what we see in Chicago. There's a lot of homelessness. So I was born and raised in that, grew up in it, single parent household. I went to the high school that I actually went to, wasn't the high school that I applied for. I applied for a different high school. I was going there. Scholarship funds didn't go through. So I ended up having to leave there and go to my neighborhood high school. I hated it, but it was a divine connection because if I hadn't gone to that school, I would not have met my now wife. I would not have met Apostle Stevenson, who is the senior pastor of All Nations Worship Assembly, where I've been serving since the beginning. So that was kind of like a divine connection because none of us applied, none of us wanted to be there, but God put all of us in that space so that we can connect. So that's kind of how that beginning part started. We started All Nations right out of high school. Like so we started planning. We were planning to go away to this college, and we gone on a college tour. We got accepted, and then we all came back home like something's not right. The Lord is doing something different. And so he called and we all talked and we were like, he said the Lord told him to stay here and start this church. And there was a couple of us that were like, this bears witness with us. So we're going to stay and we're going to do it. And family was like, you're crazy. This is never going to work. But we stayed in and we did it. And so we planned back in 2003 and then 2004 when we graduated high school, like the Sunday after we graduated, we had our first service. So it was like we went from graduation right into this life of ministry. And it's the funny thing that I always tell people is our prom night was like our official last night of sin. Like if you were going to drink, if you're going to have any sin, anything was going to happen, prom night has to be it because after that, we're in this life of ministry. So since 2003, we've been building this ministry, and that has kind of led to where we are today. I've served in every capacity in All Nations, like literally. I mean, I was the worship leader. I have served over the elders, the men's ministry, the children's ministry, every area. More recently, our pastoral guidance, which is our counseling program. I served as a director for that, and now I am full time working NY Cares on top of, for the last 6 years, we've done short term missions. And so there's a lot that we've done. So that's kind of the long and short of who I am.
What a crazy adventure of a life. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I did not know that that was like the original like that. I didn't know that that was how it all originated, that you guys
Yeah.
like straight out of high school. That is so cool and so just like inspiring to me,
Yeah.
especially like we have a lot of younger students and people who are dreaming of like, what do I do next? I know I'm called to make a difference. And so just to like hear a story of, we felt the calling and we were obedient and we just did it, like,
Yeah.
and look at it now. And so all nations is spreading. Like, I know Pastor Dino, Ark, we love all nations. Like, it is so exciting just to get to like talk with you guys and partner together. And we actually have an all nations where I live in Louisiana. Like, one of my friends is a worship leader there, and it's like just hearing him talk about how amazing it is. So it's so cool that y'all started like this movement. But could you tell us like a picture of what has it grown into today? So you guys are launching, obviously, multi-campus, multi-site. How's it all set up?
So we actually have campus locations in other states. We have like Atlanta, Baltimore, San Antonio, San Bernardino, um, Louisville, Kentucky. We have Memphis, Tennessee. We have a campus in Alabama. Like, we are just kind of spreading out. And then right here in Chicago, we actually have our main campus, which is in the South Shore neighborhood. We have a campus in the south suburbs in Park Forest, Illinois. And then we are planting a location on the west side of Chicago, so that we can sort of serve all points of our city. So we're just kind of spreading out everywhere.
How did it grow to this? Because you guys, like you said, you started right out of high school and now it's like all over the country.
Yeah.
How did it spread like wildfire? What's the magic secret sauce?
We went through so much. I think when we were being in a position that we were in when everything started, we started with nothing. We tell people we started with a bus card and like $2 in our pockets. We literally started with nothing. We didn't have a lot of people that believed in us because we were so young. They didn't think that it would work. And so we were forced to believe in ourselves and believe that we heard God and trusted God. So that made us work really hard over the years. I mean, struggling through, just watching the Chicago campus kind of grow and build. We went through some changes with that, changes in location, changes in, our setup and how things, were in the message that we preached, how we ministered to people. And I think once we started making those changes in our local assembly and we started to see the growth, the influence of All Nations started to spread. People think that we're a new ministry, but we have to tell people, no, we've been around for 17 years. We've just been growing and being groomed and being prepared for this time. And then it just kind of started. One day, Apostle, Stevenson started having these thoughts about being pressed to spread into other cities. And so we were traveling to different cities and doing these live services and just kind of, measuring what's the response, where do we go next. And then we ended up planting in Atlanta, which was the first, and it was the big, a big deal there. And then that worked. And so it just kind of like overnight, almost, it seems, it just kind of expanded from there. It's almost like we started moving so quickly. But there was really a lot of work into working through some things in our local assembly first, and then working through some things within us to make sure that we could handle that level of exposure and influence. And so from there, we started one and then went on from there.
Dude, that is such a wild story. And yeah, I love how it just feels like God really took time, y'all really took time to faithfully let him just work things out and develop
Yeah.
that character. And then it's like you've been underground but not underground, and then it
Yeah.
just erupts. Like, that is so cool to me. I just honor you guys and just leading the way. And again, like, it's just so inspiring. Like, that's what God can do, and you are synced up with the Holy Spirit. That's like, he's gonna take care and he's gonna spread his love through you as a vessel. So that's so cool. Love the culture. I love the heart that you guys have. I'd love to zoom in a little bit though on the local side of things, the outreach that you guys are doing. I know you have ANWA Cares, All Nations Worship Assembly, ANWA, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
I
That's
had to
right.
think about it. I'm like, why wham and okay, and what? And what cares? And then yeah, tell us like you've mentioned like homelessness is a big thing. Obviously, y'all are in an urban area. Maybe tell us more about kind of the demographics, the needs, like give us a taste of the community that y'all are reaching, and then we'll jump into like the specifics of how you guys are serving in the community.
Sure, sure. So we are, yeah, like you said, we're in a very impoverished community. Actually, all three of our locations are in areas that have some poverty. The main campus in South Shore and then the campus on the west side are probably the two that deal with it the most. Extreme poverty, predominantly African American, minority communities where education or quality education is not always readily accessible, where the job market is not very good. We have some issues with food deserts in certain parts of our city where access to fresh food is not readily available. And so we just have a lot of trouble surrounding us. And there was a point in our ministry where we were trying to escape to like the suburban areas, and it was like God was like, no, this is where you belong. And so we have been in these urban communities, and we have kind of found our place in that. So NY Cares is that opportunity to really sow seed back into our city, back into our communities, and expand what we know as normal church outreach. You know, the back to school, the Christmas, the Thanksgiving, but really expand that and get into some other things, some civic engagement and social justice and prison ministry and just a family preservation and a lot of different things. The strength of our outreach program has always been run through our evangelism team. We have a trained team of evangelism members who are trained to preach, trained to teach, trained to minister the gospel, trained to win souls, and we dispatch them. And so initially, the two it was one and the same, evangelism and outreach. We have since made the separation between the two where we will work closely together. But our outreach portion, which is NY Cares, will focus specifically on the distribution of goods, services, meeting the physical, tangible needs of members of the community. And our evangelism team will be focused on ministering to the hearts and inviting them to Jesus. So we're going to work hand in hand. But that NY Cares portion, that is our big outreach portion, our opportunity to serve our community.
Okay, I get it. That's really cool. And then when you guys decided to, this is interesting to me, the evangelism team, you guys decided to make that separation.
Yeah.
Was that a move because I know for me, like I've talked to volunteers who are like, I don't feel comfortable evangelizing, but I can serve a hot dog and I want to make, is that why? Okay. Okay.
Absolutely. That is absolutely correct. There were a lot of people who just wanted to serve and they wanted to get out in the street and serve. And maybe I'm not comfortable with talking to people and introducing people to Jesus and having that encounter, but I can pack some bags and I can, put on a smile and hand out, some goods. And so that's what made us say, let's broaden our serve opportunities.
That makes so much sense. I love that y'all have kept a place for the evangelism team because I think a lot of times we might be missing that factor. I know sometimes it can feel awkward or you don't want to feel like you're Jehovah's Witness or anything like that, but I do feel like sometimes we take a step back because we don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. We might be missing an opportunity. So, could you speak to like the evangelism team? I know I actually got a request recently from someone who's just like, how do you train people on even how to begin this conversation? Because it's kind of old school in a way, but it shouldn't be. So talk
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, we believe in creative evangelism. We believe that there's more than one way to reach the heart of a person, and that is a part of our outreach strategy. There will be some areas, some neighborhoods where we will go out consistently and soften the hearts of men by meeting those tangible needs. We're not asking for anything in return. We're just gonna meet those needs, and then we'll send an evangelism team out into those same areas where they've already gain some trust with the church because we are a regular consistent voice We are helping meet some of their needs. We are, someone who's not trying to take from them, but we're giving to them, and that opens up their heart. So it makes the way easier for the evangelism team to go out and say, hey, can I pray for you? To go out, and we train our evangelism team members in prophetic ministry, how to prophesy, how to just open their hearts and reach their hearts using the voice of God, how to pray prophetically, and just how to just offer whatever it is we're offering with compassion. So we send our evangelism teams out well equipped to do some creative evangelism and some creative ministry. We actually went out one day with our whole evangelism team, and that's all we were doing was going to different points on the corner and offering prayer to people. And there was a mom they were handing out flyers for a missing daughter. And we had one of our team members who was able to pray prophetically and just kind of see into the heart of the mom, see into the whereabouts of the daughter. And the family went away in tears because they were able to pray and just release hope to them that they did not have. But it was an amazing encounter. And so those are some of the things that we train them to do, because we believe it is important to have that time to invite people to Christ and have that opportunity. But we also know that there's been some mistrust with churches. And so we know that it's necessary to bridge that gap as well.
Wow, that is so cool. I often think about like how God talks about the harvest and all of that, but we know that there are people who plant the seeds, and they might
Yeah.
not be the same person who reaps the harvest. They may come along and water the seed, and they may come and be the sunshine. And so I think it's so cool that y'all think of your team roles in the same way, in layers and roles, and you prepare it like that. You prepare the ground, and that's so cool. And I also love that the prophetic has it's a stakeholder in your outreach ministry. And I think sometimes for some reason that can be kind of like this voodoo type thing, like taboo, not voodoo. Voodoo is something completely different. It's like people aren't comfortable with it necessarily. Sometimes you're not trained in it. You don't even know how. Like for me personally, like I didn't grow up really understanding all that. And only recently am I like, oh my gosh, tapping into that gift changes so much about how you express love, how you're able to really connect with the nature of God's heart on behalf of someone else. It is a game changer. So I love that that is such an essential piece of the serving and the outreach. And yeah, I just feel like a lot of us could really lean into that example and add a whole new dimension of how we're reaching. So that's
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And we
Um,
don't send our people out, ill-equipped. We
yeah.
spend time in training, so that you don't go out and feel like I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. But we spend time training and preparing them. I think our evangelism training is like 8 weeks, where we spend time helping you memorize scripture, helping you understand, how to interact when you are in certain areas and in certain communities. And so we make sure that they're trained. We offer prophetic, 101 and 102 training to make sure that you understand how to hear the voice of God. And so we send you out with a bit more confidence.
I love that. Are there any I don't know if I should ask this, but are there any resources that you guys specifically use, or is it kind of like in-house, y'all just kind of flow with anything you would recommend for churches who want to tap into that?
I don't know that. So we have an entire education department, NY University. And so we have curriculums for everything that we do: prophetic training, deliverance training. We are starting a healing team. We have healing training, healing ministry training, evangelism training, and we have curriculums for everything. So some of our people, our teachers, we have trained teachers and curriculum developers that will sit and just create curriculum. And so I'm certain that is a resource that we can open up to you guys, since we're connected with ARC. But yeah, we have curriculum for everything.
Okay, I'm glad I asked. I put you on the spot, but thank you for that. That's so cool. It really is something that people ask about, and just yeah, I think that would be really cool. So I'll follow up with you. Listeners,
Yeah.
hang tight. I'll follow up and see, what that looks like. But thank you so much for sharing that. That's really exciting to me. Okay, so now we kind of have a lay of the land. What is like, I know you mentioned y'all do kind of like the big back to school stuff. Give me like a snapshot. Maybe it's a week or a month or just a whole year. Like, what's the landscape of specific outreach expressions you guys are doing?
Woo, the fun stuff. Um, because NY Cares is brand new, this is going to be so we kind of our initial event was back in September. We did a big grocery giveaway, or grocery distribution, I should say, where we served over 600 families and we provided them with enough groceries for a week. And so that was a major undertaking. We did that on all of our campuses in Chicago. So this year we have sort of an extensive plan, and we've actually already gotten started with that the last week. We focused on serving some of our first responders, and honoring them, and we're making that a regular part of our plan, for the year. So every month we're going to be serving and sending lunch or dinner or whatever to some hospital, some fire station, some police department throughout the city of Chicago. So last week we actually went to the police department, the fire department, and we wanted to make sure that everybody was touched in the department. So we actually sent lunch to them over the course of like 3 days. So everybody on every shift was able to partake. We went to the University of Chicago here, one of our leading hospitals on the South Side. And so far, we've served probably about 200 of their nurses and hospital staff members. And one of the unique things that we found out that we're committing to this year is that the night shift is the most neglected because organizations don't typically stick around after hours. And so we're committed to the night shift. I was out to like 9:30 last night, serving some nurses on the night shift. So that's something that we're going to do regularly. But we have a plan to connect with organizations in our city that's already established, so that we can work some of our programs. So one of our major programs for this year is called Family Preservation. And a part of that is foster care prevention. And so we're working with a couple of organizations to help strengthen the family unit. So there's some resources that maybe we can offer if they're struggling with poverty, struggling with keeping the lights on, if they need mentoring. Well, we're going to have team members that will partner with them and go into those homes to help provide what they need: job readiness, training for jobs, and resume building, and education assistance with getting your GED, whatever has the potential to disrupt the family unit. That's what we're going in and saying, okay, let's offer that resource. Let's figure that out so that this family can stay together. So that is a regular thing for us this year. Another major thing is prison ministry. We hadn't really dived into that, but we are connected with the youth, some of the detention centers here in Illinois. And one of the interesting things that we didn't know is that there could be a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old in the detention center, and whatever crime they committed, let's say they're going to serve a year. Well, if after that year they don't have a family member that's willing to claim them, they have to sit there in the detention center until they, what we call, age out. So if I'm 10 years old and my sentence was only supposed to be a year, but my family has decided they don't want me, I have to stay in prison until I am of age. And what happens when I'm of age is they literally open the door and say, welcome to the world. No resources, no aid, no housing, no assistance. Welcome to the world. Well, what happens? That sends them back into a cycle of crime because I have to survive. So, as a church, what we're committing to is building safe houses and doing the work necessary to become certified in that, so that we can check with the detention centers and see how many youth do you have that's just sitting there waiting to age out. Let us take them. We're going to put them through our program for a year. We're going to provide them, send them through trade school. We're going to provide them with a stable home, with food, with clothes, with safety, with everything they need. And we're going to prepare them to enter into the world properly. So that is a major program that we're literally working on right now. I'll actually be visiting one of our detention centers in the next couple of weeks to talk and start getting the ball rolling with that. So that is what we're doing. Those are some of the major things we're doing. We're working with organizations that are committed to ending sex trafficking and human trafficking, to provide safe houses for them and opportunities for them to find safety. So on top of that, we still have all of our regular outreaches. We're going to be doing a weekly food pantry. We're going to be doing bus card distributions and just some other smaller things. We are adopting schools. What we're doing with our back to school this year is, instead of doing a big carnival style back to school event in all of our areas across Chicago, we're going to adopt schools. So let's say this school has a population of 500 students. They're all in low income areas. Well, if that school requires uniforms, we're going to pay for the uniforms for that student. We're going to buy each of them a couple of sets of their uniforms. We're going to provide all of the school supplies that they need. So, I mean, everything from Kleenex to paper towels to markers to pens to backpacks to everything. We're going to literally partner with the families in those schools, and we're going to offer incentives for attendance. Attendance has been a big issue. So we're going to offer gift cards and tablets and other things as incentives to get them coming to school and get them excited. And then we're going to have some trained mentors to go into the schools and mentor them and walk with them and help those families. So we're taking a different approach this year with that, so that we can directly serve those families. We're doing some honor our troops. We're going to put together some care packages for our troops, and we're going to send them overseas so that we can honor them and let them know that they have a place here in Chicago that's praying for them, that's with them. We're going to have a day of service for their families where we invite them to come to church. We're going to have a reception afterwards. I want to do some surprise, troop came home early and the family is there, and some of those surprise things. So we have that in our plan for this year. And then Christmas, we're going to do the angel tree program and do a lot of other things. Thanksgiving, we're going to adopt some shelters and provide them with hot meals, as well as distribute groceries to families. So that's kind of the long and short of our year.
Not a nutshell at all. That is my head is spinning because, gosh, there's so many beautiful ideas, but what hits me most is that I feel like you have an anointing, or your team does, just for the blind spots. Like, what is not being covered? What is being overlooked? Where are the holes that we can fill in? And that's like your sweet spot. I think that is amazing. And I think we can all really learn, like, just the fact that y'all are leaning in. I saw the post that you guys were out on the night shift last night, and I was like, that is amazing, because it's so true. That's the overlook, that's the inconvenient time. But those are the ones that really need that extra love. And the whole thing with the detention centers with the youth, like, dear Lord, I need a tissue, because that is just, that'll grab your heart. But what a beautiful opportunity to really and truly affect lives and culture. Like,
Yeah,
that is a whole generation in your hands. It's
yeah,
amazing. And I do wonder, like, for our listeners, like, that might be something that's a need as well in your own local community. Like, check into that, because I promise you that's not just a Chicago situation.
yeah.
So thank you for just like shining a little spotlight on some of those blind spots. I
Sure.
do.
Our mindset is, I'm sorry, our mindset is with that. We want to go where people are afraid to go, and we want to touch the people who are most neglected and that people are afraid to touch. So we take on the cases that are considered too hard. And because that's our mindset, that's what gets us the idea to go into the areas and do some of the things that people just won't do, because they won't get you the instant fame or the instant attention. But we're going sometimes when the lights are out and the cameras are out and you won't see much.
That's so deep. It's so deep. I love like the verses that talk about God's love knows no bounds. It says, plumb the depths of his love. Like, go there and see and watch him show up. And to me, that is the most exhilarating place to be, because it's like, I thought that was hopeless. I didn't think that a person who has dementia and Alzheimer's and can't hear and can't see would be able to worship God if I brought a service to them. But oh my gosh, you came alive. Oh my gosh. Like that is everything to me. So I love that that's your philosophy. That, yeah, that's everything. That's God's heart. So let's continue down this path a little bit. I just want to like open it up for you to like kind of mentor us today. What are some of your philosophies and like how do you just like navigate this whole world of seeing needs, having your spiritual eyes and ears open to humanity and knowing like how to take action? Like what are some of your pocket philosophies? What do you keep with you at all times?
You know, it starts with your personal devotion and your personal relationship with God. This is something that I always tell my team. Your serving has to come from the overflow of that devotion and that personal relationship with God, that time that you spend with him, because when you allow God to desensitize you and allow God to make you sensitive, excuse me, to the needs around you and take the focus off of woe is me, you know, I'm tired today, or I had a bad day, the laundry needs to be done, or, you know, I stubbed my toe, you know, get in God's presence and allow him to make you sensitive to the needs of your brother and your sister that's sitting right next to you. That is something that's going to open your heart when you go out into the world, and you will see it is not hard to go out into the world and see the needs. But if you are so caught up in what's happening in your world, in your personal space, you know, and the woe is me, then you won't see the needs around you, and it's going to make serving difficult. So I always tell my team, we do nothing without prayer, without intercession, and without time spent in the presence of God, because that is where you receive the compassion you need. That's where you receive the energy you need. There are going to be times when you're going to be serving on an outreach and you're not going to feel like it. There's going to be so many things going on in your own world, but because you have that check in your spirit from the presence of God and the power of the Holy Spirit that will give you the strength and you and the energy you need to press through those moments, then you'll be able to make the greatest impact, the most selfless impact. And so I always say that it stems from your personal devotion and your life with the Lord. People ask, why do you, like, where did you get this heart of giving? It came from and comes from the daily time. I talk to God all day long. Sometimes I say, God, I know you are tired of hearing my voice, but he's not. I talk to him all day long. And so just allowing myself to not become so consumed with what's happening in my world that I can't see the need and respond to the need of my brother. If I'm in the grocery store and there's somebody that's taking too long in front of me and they're apologizing, I tell them, no, take your time. I'm not in a hurry. And even if I am in a hurry, I don't let them know that I'm in a hurry, because I should have left earlier. I should have, you know, made other arrangements. I can go to another line, but no, I'm not going to make you feel that pressure, because I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what's happening in your world. And so I always try my best to just remain sensitive. And when I find myself agitated and not sensitive like I should be, then that's a sign to me that I need to steal away and have a few moments of worship, have a few moments where God can do some work in my heart, so that then I can develop that sensitivity again. So I just spend time not becoming too consumed with what's happening with me. When things happen around me in my world and it's happening in my life, I find a way to see the good side, to get a lesson out of it, to quickly shift my perspective so that I can get back to developing that sensitivity for my brother or my sister or whoever I am going to encounter. So it starts with your relationship with God and that personal time that you spend with him. If you're spending time with God, there is no way you're going to miss the needs around you. There's no way you're not going to be sensitive enough to hear his voice concerning the person that's sitting next to you that just might need you to say hello to them. That's one of the things that when I was taking my short-term missions teams out, and I tell them, hey, conversation and that open door starts with the hello. Don't be so consumed that you can't just say hello. Sometimes people just need a friendly smile or hi, how are you today? And then it flows from that place. But you get that type of sensitivity by submitting your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your desires to the authority of Jesus Christ, and allowing Him to deal with everything that would make you impatient, and that would make you frustrated, and that would make you not be a good display of Jesus Christ. People should see the God in you before you open your mouth. I should know there's something different about you just by your demeanor. And I want to know more about what that is that's in you. I worked a job, and there were people that would tell me, we know something's different about you because you don't jump in the same conversations that we jump in, or complain like we do, or have some of the responses that we have. What is it about you? And then when I would start talking to them about my faith in God, and how I allow Him to regulate my emotions, that opened them up to seeing things in a different way. So your life, everything about the way that you live, should be a display of the love and the compassion of Jesus Christ, because that's what He's commanded us to do, to love one another. And so that's what I'm committed to doing, even through my own pain. I will serve. I was serving at a friend's funeral for his mom. His mom had passed, and my father had just passed. The morgue was calling me to make arrangements for my father while I was running the funeral, while I was emceeing, officiating the funeral for his mom. And so after the repast, after I finished serving them, then I was able to sit down and make arrangements for my own father. And so that some people would say that is extreme, but no, I made a commitment to stand with him in his difficult time, and I wasn't going to abandon that post. But the only way that I had the strength to do that is I had to submit my own feelings to God and say, God, you got to give me the strength and everything that I need. And no good thing will He withhold from you. That's what the word teaches us. And we always associate that with money and other material things, but that's wisdom, that's peace, that is kindness, that's love, that's joy. No good thing will He withhold from you if you just ask. And so I ask for it, and He gives it to me.
I really had tears over here as you're talking, because like, oh my gosh, this role of sensitivity in serving is so profound to me, because there are so many times in life where sensitivity is looked down upon. Like, oh, you're so sensitive. Oh, like, why are you feeling? Don't cry. Like, bully, man up. It's fine. And I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. I don't know if you know Enneagram, but that is like the most feeling person ever. And I just always beat myself up about it. But over time, God has really started to show me, like, sensitivity is a gift. And when people call and want to know, how do I train my people and how to do outreach? What are the best practices? How do we do this? I'm like, listen, it is not about how to do an outreach well. It is about how to awaken your job as an outreach coordinator is to help those guys learn how to do this for themselves, awaken their spiritual senses, learn how to see with the eyes of heaven, learn how to hear. That is what it's all about. And so the fact that that's like such a foundational piece of this for you just shows me how much I know that is God's heart. It starts with being sensitive to Him, because from it everything else flows. So, oh my goodness, yes and amen. I'm just echoing all of that. It's amazing, so amazing. I don't even know where to go from here. This happens to me a lot. I just kind of get stumped. Like, we just need to marinate for a second.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's so cool. How do you, I will ask this, how do you transfer that heart to your teams? And I'm sure a lot of it is time spent and just being an example, but that is a question that we get, is like, how do you really activate this in people?
Sure. You got it right. It's that time spent. I spend time with my team, but you know what? I get in there and I work with them. I am not a leader that stands off to the side and barks orders. And sometimes it aggravates some of my team members because they're like, we got it. You're apostle. You go and you sit in there. And I say, no, I can't do that. I am here to serve, and I'm going to work alongside you. So I am not too big to pack a grocery bag. I'm not too big to distribute goods. I'm not too big to move around and move boxes. And I get in there with them and I spend that time with them, but I display that passion. and I show them, this is why we do what we do. If we're packing a bag of groceries, this is why the cans go on the bottom, and this goes like this, because you don't want to give somebody something that you wouldn't want to receive. But I show them that, and I explain that to them, and my kids hate it, but everything is a lecture. If I need to have a moment where I have to tell my team, stop right here, this is a God moment, or this is a learning opportunity, everything becomes a lecture or scripture reference or something. But I teach them, I spend time with them, but I work with them. I don't ask my team members to do anything that I am unwilling to step out and do. And there are moments where I will step back and just watch, but they will know that I am right here if there's anything that you need. So I show them that I'm not afraid to do the work with you. I am not asking you to commit to anything that I'm not going to commit to. If you say that it is too hard for you, I'm going to get out there and show you how you can do it in a way where it won't be too difficult for you. So that has always been my philosophy, even in taking my teams overseas.
That is so good. I would love to let you expand on this a little bit because I'm imagining some of the people I talk to who are more of the organizational side, but they're in this role of I've got to pull off this serve day thing because that's been the task given to me. But I'm leading this team. I feel I know I've been in this position where I feel like my responsibility is more so to pull off the outreach and make sure it was smooth, and I don't feel so much authority on, hey, let me take a moment to just reroute our thoughts here and reframe the perspective. So, could you
Mm,
maybe give some thoughts to our leaders who just need to be like empowered in their authority?
yes.
Um, just to take those moments. So, could you speak to those guys?
Yeah, that is so good. If you have a team and you are that leader, then you have to remind yourself that I have the not just the authority, but the responsibility to pull that out of them. And that's something that I often have to remind myself. I have the authority and I have the responsibility. And if you need reassurance, go to whoever's above you and say, hey, this is what I want to do, and is this okay? And if they give you that reassurance, then you go for it and you find your strength. The beauty of the way that God works is he oftentimes staffs us with everything that we need. And so I take the opportunity to assess my own strengths and my own weaknesses, and I pull on my team members so that I can put my focus where it needs to be. Sometimes as leaders, it becomes difficult for us to pull that passion out of them and take those moments away because we're trying to do everything, and our focus is we just got to pull this off. But sometimes you got to stop. My one of my philosophies is manage your moments well. So sometimes you have to take a deep breath and you have to just stop and manage the moment. If it feels like it's overwhelming right now, then that means there's something that I'm doing I shouldn't be doing. My admin should be taking care of this and sending this email. I don't need to do that. I have this coordinator over here that can make sure that the bags are lined up and that the groceries go where they need to go. I can have this person to go and move this table. Sometimes we can just be doing so much that we don't pull on the strength that's around us so that we can put our minds where our minds need to be. So there are moments where I have to remind myself, okay, you have a full team. You need to delegate so that you can put your focus and your energy where it needs to be. So I would say if you need that reassurance, go to whomever is above you, get the reassurance once and for all. And then once you get it, move forward with doing what you need to do. Delegate, take some things off your plate so that you can focus where it needs to be. If I know that I need to be focused on monitoring or making sure that things are logistically well, then I can't be stuck behind a table packing bags or putting masks together or whatever. I need to delegate that to my team and trust them. That is another major thing for team leaders. I'm going to delegate it and I'm going to trust them, which means I have to know a little bit about them to make sure that I can trust that this task is going to be done. So then I can have the room and the energy to put it where it needs to go. When we did our big grocery outreach, I quickly learned, you can't do everything. You can't be stuck in here packing these bags because you need to go there and make sure that is going well, go there and make sure that is going well. And then you need to have a moment where you sit down so that you don't overexhaust yourself, and you can be what your team needs you to be. So I would say if you're struggling with taking that authority, then that means that's a sign that you need some reassurance that you don't have. get the reassurance, and then put your plan in place.
Amen. So good. Great advice. And I feel like it's just going to empower so many people. Like, take up your space. You have been empowered. Get the reassurance, but like, own it. Just have confidence that you are called and you're anointed to this moment, and manage the moment well. That is the best advice. I'm all about that. I was working admin at the Birmingham Dream Center, and I would be like up to my eyeballs in receipts, phone ringing off the hook. I was like, oh man. And I just found myself getting so just, I needed to manage my time better, honestly. But I needed just a moment to like reconnect with Jesus a little bit. Like I'm very task focused right now. So we created a stop jar, me and some of the students, and it was like, all right, when you feel yourself like that, we're gonna yell stop. And in the jar, we had written little kindness ideas on popsicle sticks. And it was just like the simplest, just take a few minutes, regroup, recenter yourself on why you're doing all this. And we draw one out randomly and we had to go do it. And then it just was like, okay, I'm back in my moment. I'm present again. And now I can get back to the task at hand, whatever. So I just love that idea of,
I'm taking that idea. I love that.
it's easier said than done though, because when someone yells stop and you're like, I am almost done with this report, I'm gonna finish really bad. It's tough, but worth it for sure. Oh man. Okay. Any other philosophies that you wanted to share?
Um, you
No.
know, my No, no, I think the biggest thing is, other than the time spent with God, making sure that you don't neglect yourself. A lot of times, people who are dedicated to serving and giving oftentimes put yourself on the back burner. So, another thing that I teach my team is self care. Know when to unplug. If you need to take a break, if you need to take a step back, take that step back. You need to have time that you protect. I protect certain days of the week that's for me and for my family so that I don't overexhaust. So, I think that's another thing that doesn't allow people to go as far as they can when it comes to outreach ministry, because you get tired, so you have to take time to regroup. One of the things that we do and that I teach when we do our short-term missions is that when we're in another country serving, and sometimes you're seeing conditions and things that you've never seen before. If you are getting exhausted, if you're getting tired, don't be afraid to just come and say, hey, Apostle, I need a moment, or I need to take a step away, or reach to one of your team members and say, hey, can you pray for me? Don't forget to take care of yourself. It doesn't make you selfish, it makes you wise. And then you'll have a long life of service. Otherwise, you'll get burned out and you'll stop wanting to give and serve and do and be. So that's another thing. Take care of yourself. Self care is so important in the life of an outreach coordinator, outreach worker, anyone that's in a serve type capacity. Take care of yourself.
That is so brilliant and so not spoken of a whole lot. And I feel I can think of people in my head that I'm like, you have faced so much in the world of outreach, especially the urban poverty communities, dream center type stuff. You might experience trauma sometimes in the things that you've gone through and the situations you have had to just look dead in the eye and get in the ditch with that person. And if you do not take care of yourself, it will ruin you. It will complete like your mental health, your physical health. So I love that you, even just something as simple as Sabbath. I've been studying a lot about Sabbath lately. I'm like, I didn't realize, like, I know it's a thing, but like it is essential because it is humble. You are putting your, God is in control, not me. It is not a selfish thing to take a Sabbath. It is humility before him, and that's the only way to get through. So that is brilliant advice and not talked about enough, so thank you for that. I hope all of our listeners really take that one to heart. Okay, a few more minutes. So I wish I had like 4 hours with you, Apostle. Like, we're gonna have to get you back several times. We might have you, I don't know, but I want to ask, man, so many great questions that I had for you, but da, 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 da. You've given us a ton of great outreach ideas, but if you could pick like 3 to 5 like creative ones you've seen in your past or whatever, like just bullet point 5 creative ideas that our churches can run with.
Sure. So one of our locations actually in San Bernardino, they do this thing on Halloween where they take tables out, take their tents out, and on their table they'll have signs that say, "Let me tell you your future," or "Come over here for a free reading," and it's really prophetic ministry. But that gets people's attention, right? So that is something that we're like in Chicago that we are going to start doing. But hey, let's get this free reading, or go through the mall and just randomly pick somebody, like find somebody that has a red shirt on, like the first person that you encounter that has a red shirt on, prophesy to them or pray for them, so that are some, and give them a gift card, for their favorite store, just for their time. So that is another thing that creatively we have seen done and that we have done. Let me see. What is something else that we did? Our back to school events were like big carnival, like fun, dunk tank, put the pastor in the dunk tank, type thing. So something that will grab everybody's attention, but will make everybody want to participate. Um, I don't know of any other like real, like out of the box creative things, but just focusing on really trying to get whatever I need to do to get your attention really is what it is that we do. So yeah, come get this free reading, or stop over here and come in and shake the clown's hand, and whatever, just like some really silly things that we do to get everybody's attention.
That is so cool. I love it. I've never heard of the fortune teller thing, but that has my mind racing in so many directions. That's the most creative thing I've ever heard. I love
Yes.
it. And so on edge. I think that's so cool. Um, I do want to ask you, I mentioned that you are the gift card king, and you've shared with me before you love surprises. Why? Like why are you the gift card king? Tell me about all that.
This gift card thing came up because, with COVID, things were a little difficult with personal interaction. So we couldn't really do as much one on one personal interaction with people. And then I like people being able to get what they need. One of the things that I realize is we may give someone a bag of groceries, and the bag of groceries might not be what they need in this moment. Maybe they need a pack of diapers, or maybe they need groceries and diapers. Maybe they need personal hygiene stuff. And so instead of making the serving focused on what I want to give you, I want to give you the opportunity to get what you need. So I think the gift card thing, when it's appropriate, puts the attention back on focusing on what you may need. Because I might think you need the groceries, but you might be saying, I have plenty of food, but I don't have this. And so the gift card allows you to go and get whatever you need, or whatever you want without restrictions. And so I just kind of fell in love with, and it's fun to say, surprise, like for Christmas, we surprised like 10 single mothers with $500 gift cards, and they could choose either Target or Walmart. And there is nothing like calling somebody and saying, surprise, we're going to give you a $500 gift card. Do you want Target or Walmart? And they're like, what? Is this real? Do I have to fill out a survey? Do I have to come to your service? And we're like, no, we just got your phone number. You were referred to us, and somebody said you had a need. So we're meeting that need. Merry Christmas. And so it is just so fun to be able to allow you to go and get what you need. And then, being someone who grew up in poverty, I know what it feels like to be grateful for what you were given, but to also say, man, I really wish I could have gotten, this was really the need. So I'm grateful for this, but this was really the need. So just having that opportunity to allow people to get what they need, and for it to be unexpected. One of our moms was in the hospital. She had her baby prematurely. And so they were stuck at the hospital. She couldn't work. And so she didn't have money to get gifts for her other kids for Christmas. So somebody submitted her name, excuse me. And so right when she was calling a friend, like, I don't know what I'm going to do for Christmas, I called her and said, here's this Christmas blessing for you. So that's kind of how that started.
I love it. It's so much fun, and I think it's so cool that you mentioned it kind of birthed from almost a firsthand experience. Um, and I think that the best outreaches are the ones that really do come from that personal "I've been there." And so this is what I need. Even if it's something simple, I always talk about the gum outreach that we used to do in Baton Rouge, but it was like my boss had bad breath after a lunch meeting one day and needed gum. And it was like, okay, let's start giving out gum at lunchtime to businessmen because they need it. So, but it was like effective because that person had felt that need. And so I love that that's where the gift card thing comes from. I love to receive gift cards. I used to hate to give them because I was like, oh, it's not thoughtful enough. Yes, it is. That person can think for themselves. But it's so
Yes.
fun. It's so fun to be able to do that and surprise people. The element of surprise is the best when a serve happens. So that's cool. Okay, I know we're coming up on time. I had like 6 more questions for you, but it's cool. You have given us so much, just enriched our hearts and our minds. So thank you for that. I will ask a couple more little things. Recommend something for our listeners. We always love to ask this: book, podcast, sermon, your books. Tell us about your books that you've written.
Sure.
What do we need to tap into?
Sure. So I am an author. I have, and my two of them are on Amazon right now. One is called That's Not Your Seat. And it talks about serving as a second in command, how sometimes we reach to be that number one. I want to be the pastor. I want to be the guy in charge. And that's not your place. And being confident in knowing that that is not your place. So that is called That's Not Your Seat. That is on Amazon. And then one is called Born This Way. That is on Amazon as well. And that is kind of my testimony, my life story of deliverance from perversion and addiction and some other things. So that is kind of like the short of my story. And then I have a manual that I have written called Slaying the Giant, which is actually designed to walk people through the journey of deliverance and restoration from sexual sin. That is one of those taboo things that we don't often talk a lot about in churches. And because of the community that we serve in and work in and that I am in, I know that it is a great need and a great struggle for a lot of people in our church communities. And so I wanted to create a resource that kind of holds your hand and walks you through the process of discovering where it started and then how do I go through the process of getting free. That is actually on my website. It's a mayberrything.com. That is kind of where you'll see all of my products. So I recommend all of those products. And then what is really blessing me as an outreach leader right now, and I'm sure all of your listeners probably already have it, but it's this Servolution book. This thing is like, I was training my team last night and we are like in deep. And so this has been kind of like a lifesaver for me during this time, especially building an outreach ministry from the ground up. So yeah, those are some great resources.
Brownie points for you. You had to say that. That's hilarious. I'm glad that it's useful. Okay, so it's a mayberrything.com. I will link to
Yes.
that. And last question is just how can people follow you? Social media, you shared your website, and all nations as well.
Sure, sure. So I am on Instagram at Apostle Mayberry. And then I am on Facebook as Raleigh Mayberry 2. My first page was hacked and I'm still locked out. And so people who were following me and connected are like, did you just own me? What happened? No, I have a new page until I can get back in. So Raleigh Mayberry, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram there. And then All Nations, you can actually follow all of our pages, All Nations Chicago, Chicago South, Chicago West, and then we will be establishing a page for NY Cares as well.
All right. I love it. You're going to get a lot of new followers in Jesus' name. That is so cool because everybody wants to see this adventure y'all are on and all of the great dreams that you shared with us, the cool things that are coming in the future. I am so excited just to get to witness all of that and cheer you guys on. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for investing in us. It's been an honor to hear from you for real.
This has been great. I love any opportunity I can get to talk about outreach. It's expanding my thinking and really keeping me going. So thank you for the invitation. I'm really humbled.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You are a gift to our Servolution community and ARC family and all that. But all right, we're gonna release you to go back and deal with this snowstorm and the night shift crew and all the things and your 4 kids and your beautiful wife. So be blessed, listeners. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. I hope y'all have a great week and we'll see you next time on the Serve Brew. Bye.